So I have a message I really want to share with you, but I also need to feed my baby. So we're multitasking today. If you hear his little squeaks and cries, I'm not sorry. You're welcome. So I have it on my heart to talk about when motherhood is hard, which feels funny because if you know my story when it comes to motherhood, for a long time, I didn't want to have children because of toxic mommy culture online and the ways that people complain about their children and just about motherhood in general. I believed a lot of those lies, and for a long time, I didn't want to have children until God kind of abruptly changed my heart all at once. And now I have 3 under 3. And I would say I'm definitely in one of the busiest, most chaotic seasons of motherhood. When I first became a mom, I was really surprised that I loved it. It wasn't like all of those not very kind warnings that I got from people. I loved it. I loved every moment. I loved having a newborn. I thought she was so interesting and so much more capable than I expected a newborn to be. And I was shocked by how much I loved motherhood. And that theme has really continued. So with each stage and every time I started to wonder if it was like if the other shoe was going to drop, if it was going to become more challenging, I continued to be surprised that I still loved it. Now, even though I'm in a busy and chaotic season of motherhood, I still love it. And I would still say the good moments are what stand out to me more than the chaotic moments, even though the chaotic moments are more abundant, as I'm sure you can imagine or have experienced if you also have 3 under 3. So since then, I've really made it my mission to help other women realize that motherhood can be good, because it kills me that I almost missed this, because of so much loud complaining and just really toxic mommy culture online. I almost missed this, and I almost believed those lies and let them keep me from the greatest gift that God had for me. So it's ironic. I was like annoyed that this is the message on my heart because I so badly want you to know that motherhood can be good. But also right now I am in a challenging, just like busy season, So when motherhood is hard, what do you do? And how do you know that you are still a good mom, I guess? But number one, I want you to know that you have a very real enemy. He has it out for you and for your children and for your view of motherhood. And I think it's so important as we begin this conversation to bear that in mind and remember that, like I said, I've always loved motherhood, and I've also always felt like a good mom, and I didn't even realize how rare that is or what a gift it is until I was almost a year into it. Because of course, Satan wants to tear us down, right? So that's the number one place he's going to attack us, is in our motherhood and in our identity in our motherhood. So if you start to believe lies like you're not a good mom, or you can't do this, or your kids would be better off with someone else, that is not from God. That is from Satan. And that's where you need to start, by submitting those thoughts to God and asking him to inform your view of yourself and of your family. A book I can't recommend enough when it comes to spiritual warfare is the book Fervent by Priscilla Shirer. It's about prayer, and that book just completely changed my outlook and made me realize how much I need to start praying proactively for my family and not just reactively when something happens or there's something that I need from God. So I recommend that book, Fervent, and she talks a lot about identity in that book. Number 2, when you are in a hard season of motherhood, it's so important to acknowledge it. And like I said, for me, my mission is for women to know that motherhood can be good. So there is this temptation for me when things are hard to like gloss over it or deny it even to myself. But in the moment when it feels hard, it's so important to voice that to yourself and even to your partner. It's okay to say, hey, this is hard. It doesn't mean anything about your identity. It doesn't mean you're saying you don't like your kids or you don't want to hang out with them. Unless you are saying that, then that's rude. It's okay to acknowledge that it's hard. I find I don't always have the capacity to be kind of solution oriented. Sometimes I just have to wait until I have time to actually think about it, especially as a mom. I can't be constantly reevaluating all my decisions because there are too many. It's okay to voice that it's hard, and that doesn't mean you have to find a solution right away. but it's okay to acknowledge this is hard. I don't like how this is. So when you do have the capacity, you can start to look for solutions or sit down with your husband and talk it through or try to make a change. But you don't have to do that all at once. Sometimes just acknowledging, hey, this is hard, this isn't ideal, is helpful. Keep stating what you are grateful for. Not in a toxic positivity, we're going to pretend it's not hard kind of way, but there is always so much to be grateful for, especially as a parent when you're dealing with your children who you are so blessed to have in your life. There is always something to be grateful for, and focusing on that makes a huge difference. I remember when my daughter was maybe about 6 months old, she's my oldest, I remember asking people, like, does the novelty wear off? Like, I still wake up every day so excited to be her mom. Is this going to wear off? And my favorite response that someone gave me to that question, it was my landlord at the time, and she told me, when you are a grateful person, the novelty doesn't wear off. You continue to enjoy it and be grateful. And I loved that response because I believe that's true, that when we're focusing on what we're grateful for and we remember what a blessing our children are, we continue to enjoy them even in the midst of those really crazy, chaotic, poo everywhere kind of moments. Number whatever we're on, continue to speak life over your children. Acknowledging that life is a bit heavy and full and challenging right now is so much different than saying something negative about your kids. I've always tried really hard to avoid statements that speak death over my children. Even things as subtle as terrible twos, I really hate that language because I have a 2-year-old right now. And I think it's the best. Sometimes I'm afraid to say that because people seem to want to dismiss each other's positive statements if they are not feeling good about their own situation. But I love my 2-year-old. I think she's the best. I love how curious she is. I love that she asks me why all the time, even though I don't know how to answer most of the time. I think it's important to really believe the best for our kids and speak life over them. When you're in a hard season, try to only focus on today, because I know, just especially with my kids right now, I keep thinking, ooh, this is going to be harder when my youngest starts solids or starts to crawl or all these things, right? I'm always looking ahead thinking, ooh, that's going to be tough. But realistically, when that time comes, my other kids are going to change too. I can't actually predict what that season is going to be like. So looking ahead and stressing out about those moments, or how are we going to go to this place that we have planned, or how are we going to get out of the house when we have another child, looking ahead to that isn't fruitful and just causes frustration unnecessarily. And then my last thing is to remember that everything is a season. And that's one that is especially huge for me right now because I don't want to rush this season by. I have a newborn and that is so precious, right? They're only a newborn for 8 weeks? I don't want to rush that away. But I also am aware that life will probably feel a little less full when I'm not, breastfeeding constantly anymore. When sleep is more predictable, all of those things, life will feel different, and maybe it will feel a little bit less chaotic. Or maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be a different type of chaos, but it's helpful to remember that everything is a season, even though that's such a cliche of motherhood, but it's true. So I really believe it's possible to love motherhood at every stage. And like I said, this is my most chaotic season. Whenever people ask me how it's going with 3 kids or how I'm adjusting, my go-to response is that it's up and down. Our lows are lower, our highs are higher. There's a lot of very chaotic moments, but there are also a lot of good moments, and those outweigh the bad. And those are what I know is going to stay in my memory as my kids get older. So if you are in a hard season of motherhood, or you're in a great season of motherhood, let me know where you're at in the comments below. I would love to just pray for you and lift you up before God. And if you found this encouraging, feel free to send it to someone else who needs to hear it. Thanks for watching. I don't know what to say now. Okay, bye.